What have you seen or used in helping actors optimize their learning and memorization tactics?
Yeah, I want to love this. Congratulations on the podcast. I'm a big fan of you and Dr. Amen. So I've been a fan and a
Thank you.
follower for many, many years. So I help actors be focused on set. I help them speed read scripts. I help them to memorize their lines because, there's a lot of content that they have to use to perform under pressure. If you want to, just some quick tips on how to remember information, like I do with actors, I would say in no particular orders to accelerate your learning, immersive practice and repetition. In sports, repetition is key. Doing physical, succeeding in physical activities, but also for memorization. So obviously, nothing can replace running lines repeatedly. So it's not just in your head, but doing it out loud in the context of movements and feelings and
Hmm.
interactions. This immersive practice helps us to cement the lines in your memory by engaging multiple senses. So you can see it, feel it, hear it, their motor functions behind it. I think it's also important not just to memorize information for whatever your career is or school, but also to understand that information. I would say context matters rather than just memorizing lines by rote, which obviously is important. Top actors, they dive deeply into the motivation of characters, the
Hmm.
meaning behind their lines. They understand the characters' intentions, their emotions, the overall story arc, and this deeply, this it really helps their understanding, make it easier to remember the lines because they're not just words, right? They're part of a bigger narrative. Another technique to help people remember anything, whether it's lines, facts, figures, what have you, is chunking information. Where you break down the
Like that.
information. In this case, for actors, their scripts into manageable chunks. I believe inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard is it's too hard. So this allows you to memorize and encode short-term to long-term memory. Actors might focus on learning like one scene or even one line or one paragraph at a time, and this method is known as chunking. And it can help you with the overwhelm and
Oh,
helps
yeah.
to facilitate recall. Another technique that everyone could use, actor, entrepreneur, parent, helping with your kids, is visualization. And the power of visualization with athletes. They do this mental rehearsal because often the mind doesn't know the difference between something you vividly imagine and something that is real. Right, actors could visualize scenes. They could imagine the setting. They could imagine the movements that they're making and how they're going to deliver lines with the vocal tonality, the tempo, the volume. But this mental rehearsal primes our brains to perform as if it's already done, right? Making it absolutely powerful in performance. Um, Another thing I would say is the physical movement. A lot of what we do certain exercises to engage the brain. I believe as your body moves, your brain grooves. When you move your body, you create something, you create dopamine, you create serotonin, endorphins.
Hmm.
I know Dr. Amen could go deeper, in this. You also create something called brain-derived neurotropic factors, BDNF, which is like fertilizer for neuroplasticity. So when you incorporate physical movement, it helps to anchor it in your body. Actors often learn their lines while moving around set. Even if we listen to an audiobook or, you listen to your podcast, my podcast, and you're doing something rhythmic, like maybe you're on an elliptical or you're going for a brisk walk, you'll actually understand the information better and you'll retain the information better. So kinesthetic learning helps to link lines to specific movements and gestures. Also a big fan of mnemonics. Mnemonics are, sometimes you could use acronyms, or we do something called chain linking, where it allows you to visualize the information and associate certain stories to certain words and phrases, making them easier to recall during a performance. We also help actors, I mentioned, focus their attention. If you think about I don't know, when you're a kid and it's summertime, you have a magnifying glass and you're burning like leaves and stuff like that. You notice that point that's doing the burning is very sharp, it's very bright. And it's interesting the words we choose to use when we call somebody bright or we call them sharp. we're implying that they're smart or they're very intelligent, but maybe they're not more intelligent. Maybe they're just better focused, right? That's the power of focus. And so when memorizing information, whether it's lines or something else, by focusing, it eliminates distractions, creates an environment that's very conducive to deep concentration. So we teach a number of techniques to help people to focus on set. And I would say the last one is maybe collaboration. Using some kind of feedback loop. Learning doesn't have to be solo; it could be social. Often, when we have somebody to read lines with, a learning buddy, or if you're reading, you're in a book club. The feedback, the discussions allow you to see things from different perspectives, and it could deepen your understanding, which also aids in retention. And then all the things that you could do for a better brain that I
Yeah.
and Dr. Amen teach. I like say, take your meds RX, and I don't mean pharmaceutical. For me, M is meditation. You have to disconnect to reconnect. Your brain's not meant to go full force and full speed. Sometimes when you give your brain a little time, it allows it to integrate, what you've learned. The E is in meds RX is exercise. I already said, as your body moves, your brain grooves. The D is diet. Whole area of science I write about in Limitless, neuronutrition, that your brain is only 2% of your body mass, but requires 20% of the nutrients. And some of those
Interesting.
nutrients, it's an energy hog. It uses a lot of the calories, a
Wow.
lot of the oxygen. And some of those key nutrients are different for the brain than they are for the rest of your body. And so what you eat matters, especially for your gray matter. So that's a D. The S in meds RX is sleep. And that's kind of obvious. When you don't get a good night's sleep, how's your brain working the next day? How's your focus? How's your mental energy? How's your ability to solve problems? How's your ability to do that deep work? How's your memory, right? When you sleep, a few things happen, especially for the brain. Number one, you consolidate short to long-term memory. So if you have long-term memory issues, maybe do a sleep study, which a doctor could prescribe. You can now do it from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to go to a sleep clinic. When you sleep, it's like the sewage system in your brain kicks in. You can clean out the beta amyloid plaque that can lead to brain aging challenges. This is something I'm very passionate about.
Wow.
I lost my grandmother to Alzheimer's when I was 7, and that was only 2 years after my brain injury. So many people know that when I was 5, I had an accident, head trauma, I
Yeah.
had learning difficulties. I would have these migraines every day, poor focus, poor emotional regulation. It took me 3 years longer to learn how to read. When I was 9 years old, I remember I was being teased pretty harshly because I just didn't understand the lessons like the other kids. And teacher came to my defense. She pointed me from the whole class and said, "Leave that kid alone. That's the boy with the broken brain." And that really messed with my identity, my self-esteem, my self-worth. And, that label became my limit. But going back to sleep, with Limitless, we're very fortunate. We've sold a couple million copies since the book came out in 2020, and we donate all the proceeds to build schools for children who don't have
Yeah.
access in Ghana, Guatemala, Kenya, and also to fund Alzheimer's research for women. Women are twice as likely to experience Alzheimer's than men, in memory of my grandmother. But sleep is very, very critical. And then the R is relationships. Having fellowship. Um, it gives you a sense of safety. We all need people to encourage us, to challenge us, to be kind to us, to call us on our stuff. And if you haven't found that person, I would say be that person. You know,
That's good.
Especially be that person for yourself. So having a positive peer group, they say we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And from a neurological standpoint, we have these mirror neurons. And what are they? These are the neurons that allow us to feel empathy, and they imitate. If you ever watched like a movie, and you feel like what the character is going through, that's your mirror neurons lighting up. And I always tell people to watch WATCH, another acronym. I know I'm talking really fast.
I love it.
W
So good.
is words. We use the same language as the people we spend the most time with. We adopt that language. We start using it in conversations. The A in watch are actions. We start imitating the behaviors of the people we spend the most time with. The T are our thoughts. We start thinking the same way as the people we spend time with, which is interesting because our world is a reflection of our thinking. The C is in watch is character. We tend to have the same moral compass, the same level of integrity and standards as the people we spend most time with. And then the H in watch are habits. I believe first you create your habits, and your habits create you. And whether or not we smoke has less to do with our neurological networks or our biological networks, and more like our social networks. If your friends smoke, you're more likely to smoke. If your friends work out, you're more likely to work out. If your friends read or meditate or do yoga or eat a great diet, you're more likely to do those things too, and becomes habitual. So yeah, I think a positive peer group is very important. So as your relationships, meds are as relationships, and the X are all the extras. Those things that we save for last that could things like nootropics, right? These are substances that have human studies that have been shown to enhance not cognitive health. That's good for brain foods, and you get your multivitamin and make sure you're taking nutrient profile and see what you're lacking, vitamin D and C, and your B vitamins. But I mean cognitive performance. There are substances that have been shown to enhance focus, to enhance your memory, to enhance executive functioning, to enhance your mood and your mental energy. So that would fall under the X. So meds, RX. It's kind of a lot, but your brain. If people are watching this on video, I always have a brain on my chest. When you and I are taking pictures, I'm always pointing to my brain.
Yeah.
With all the Marvel characters too, because I think what you see, you take care of. And just think about it. You see your car, you see your hair, your clothes, your skin, you take
Yeah,
care of it
totally.
because it's in
That's a
your
good point.
awareness all the time. You know when it's slipping and in quality, but you don't see the thing that takes care of us. So I always want to remind I want people to know their brain. Your brain is this incredible supercomputer, but it's not user friendly. It doesn't come with an owner's manual. That's why I do the work that I do, show people once you know how your brain works, you can work your brain. So very important. But I want you to know your brain. I want you to love your brain. And most of all, I want people to use their brain. Your brain is an organ, but it acts more like a muscle. It's use it or lose it. And through neuroplasticity, our brain's ability to make new connections, really two keys: novelty and nutrition. Just like if you want to,
Mm.
a lot about this in terms of physical fitness. You want to grow your muscles, you give it novelty, you work it out, and then you feed it, the essential nutrients so it could grow. And same thing with your mental muscles.